Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Today, we're tackling something I think we all struggle with from time to time.
Oh, I know it's coming.
Yeah, those impromptu speaking situations.
Oh, yeah.
When you're suddenly put on the spot and expected to be, witty and
Oh,
eloquent.
wait, you've got it all together.
Exactly. So we're going to dissect Think Faster, Talk Smarter by Matt Abrahams
Ooh, good choice.
to help us all navigate those moments,
Yeah, whether it's a Q&A session or, just a casual conversation.
Right, or like a job interview.
Yeah.
Where you really need to think on your feet. And I love that Abrahams doesn't just skim the surface.
No.
He really gets into the nitty-gritty.
He provides actual techniques and framework.
Exactly. Like, for example, he has these really cool formulas you can use to structure your thoughts quickly. But before we get to those, he addresses the big elephant in the room for a lot of people.
The anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
The anxiety that comes with speaking off the cuff.
Oh, it's so real.
Like, I get nervous just thinking about it.
But it's so common, and Abrahams acknowledges that right from the start. He gets it, And what's great is he offers some really practical, down-to-earth techniques to manage those nerves.
Okay, give me an example. What's one thing that people can do, like, right now to calm those butterflies?
Breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah, like consciously controlling your breath. It sounds simple, but...
Okay, I've heard of breathing exercises for relaxation, but I guess I don't really understand how that applies to speaking.
So when we get anxious, our breathing tends to get all, shallow and rapid,
Yeah.
By slowing down and deepening those breaths, you're actually signaling to your nervous system that everything is okay.
Interesting. So it's like hitting the reset button for your brain.
Exactly. They're kind of tricking your body into a state of calm. And what I appreciate is that Abrahams doesn't just tell you to breathe. He explains the science behind it, which makes it even more effective, I think.
Oh, I totally agree. When you understand the why behind something, it's so much easier to actually do it.
For sure. And he also talks about the power of positive self-talk, which can be so helpful.
Right. I mean, we all have that inner critic that likes to chime in at the worst possible moments.
Oh, yeah, like right before a big presentation, it's like, you're going to mess this up.
Oh, totally. So how do we combat that? What does Abrahams suggest?
He really emphasizes the importance of reframing those negative thoughts. So instead of letting that thought, I'm going to mess this up, spiral out of control, you could consciously reframe it as, okay, I've prepared for this and I'm going to do my best.
Ah, I see. It's about shifting your focus from the fear of failure to the, belief in your ability to handle the situation.
Exactly. And that shift in mindset can make all the difference.
Totally. Now, another idea that stood out to me was his concept of embracing spontaneity.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He says that perfectionism can be a real roadblock when it comes to effective impromptu speaking.
It makes so much sense. If you're constantly striving for perfection, you're going to overthink every word, every pause.
Right, and that hesitation can make you appear less confident and engaging, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, for sure. And I love this quote from the book. He says, "There is no right or perfect way. In spontaneous speaking, there are only better and worse ways."
I love that. It takes the pressure off.
It gives you permission to be human,
Yeah, to just relax a little and go with the flow, which can feel so liberating when you're used to trying to control every little detail.
Right. And it's not about being careless or unprepared. It's more about recognizing that spontaneity involves a bit of messiness, and that's okay.
So instead of getting stuck in our heads trying to craft the perfect response, we should focus on being present and responsive to the situation at hand.
Exactly. It's about trusting yourself to adapt and think on your feet, which is a muscle you can develop with practice.
Now, Abrahams also dedicates a whole section to open-mindedness, which may seem pretty self-explanatory at first glance, but...
But there's more to it than just, tolerating different viewpoints.
Good. Right, like how does this actually play out in those impromptu speaking moments?
So think about those times when you're in a Q&A, right? And someone asks a question that totally challenges your perspective.
Oh, I've been there.
It can be so easy to get defensive, you know? But Abrahams encourages us to embrace those challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
Interesting. So instead of shutting down, we should lean in and see it as a chance to expand our own understanding.
Exactly. And by actively seeking out diverse viewpoints beforehand, you can actually anticipate potential questions or objections that might come up during those impromptu speaking moments.
That's such a smart strategy. It's like turning a potentially awkward situation into a chance to connect with your audience on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it all starts with cultivating that open-mindedness and genuine curiosity, which I think are valuable skills even beyond speaking.
For sure. Now, before we move on to active listening and those game-changing formulas that I'm so excited to dive into, I'd love to hear from you, our listener.
Yes. Have you ever been in a situation where you completely froze up when trying to speak off the cuff?
What happened? And how did you handle it?
We'd love to hear your experiences. And also, what strategies are you currently using to manage those feelings of anxiety when you're put on the spot?
Maybe you have some tips that even Abrahams hasn't thought of. So share your thoughts with us.
So active listening is the next step in Abraham's 6-step method, and it's super important in impromptu speaking.
I can see that. I mean, it's always important to listen, but especially when you need to think on your feet.
Right. Like, if you're not really paying attention to what the other person is saying, how can you respond effectively?
Makes sense. So what does Abraham say about active listening? How is it different from just, hearing what someone is saying?
Well, he highlights how active listening goes beyond just hearing the words.
Yeah.
It's about really understanding like the underlying emotions and intentions behind what someone is saying.
It's like listening with your whole brain, not just your ears.
Exactly. You're tuning into their tone of voice, their body language, their whole vibe. And this deeper level of listening allows you you know, to tailor your responses in a way that truly connects with your audience.
So you're not just giving a canned answer, you're actually engaging in a meaningful exchange.
Precisely. And I think that's particularly important in those situations like Q&A sessions or job interviews where you need to demonstrate that you're not just, spitting out rehearsed lines, you're actually listening and responding thoughtfully.
Okay, I'm with you. So active listening, super important. But now, let's get to the fun part.
Yes.
Abraham's content structuring formulas.
These are like cheat codes for impromptu speaking.
I love it. Give me the cheat codes. Let's start with toasts.
Okay, toasts. Even for experienced speakers, those can be nerve-wracking.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you haven't prepared anything in advance.
Right. So Abrahams has this acronym, WHAT, W-H-A-T.
What? Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
So each letter stands for a key element of a good toast. W is for why we're here. H is for how you're connected to the person or event. A is for anecdote or story. And T is for thanks and toast.
That's so simple, but brilliant.
Yeah.
Having that structure in mind would definitely prevent me from rambling or getting lost in my thoughts.
Right. It gives you a clear roadmap to follow, which can be so helpful when you're feeling the pressure.
I can see how this would take a lot of the anxiety out of giving a toast.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got what for toasts? What about Q&A sessions? Those can be even more unpredictable.
Yeah, those can be tough. For Q&As, Abrahams has the ADD formula.
EABT.
Yeah, ADD.
Okay, I'm all ears. What does that stand for?
So answer D is for detail, and D is for describe relevance.
So you start by directly answering the question, of course.
Right, nice and straightforward. Then you provide a supporting detail or an example to really flesh out your answer. And finally, you explain why that answer is relevant to the person who asked the question.
Ah, I see. So it's not enough to just answer the question. You need to provide context and make it meaningful for the audience.
Exactly. Can I give you an example?
Yes, please. I love examples.
Okay, imagine you're giving a presentation about a new product. And someone asks, how does this product actually benefit me personally?
Classic question.
Right. So using the ADD formula, you might start by answering directly. This product can save you time and money. Then you give a specific detail, like it automates tasks that used to take hours, freeing up your time for more important things. And then, to describe the relevance, you connect it back to their life. This means you can focus more on your passions or even just spend more time with your family.
Wow. That's such a clear and concise response. And it's so much more persuasive than just saying it saves you time and money.
Exactly. You've added that personal touch, shown them that you understand their needs and, why they should care.
That's brilliant. Okay, before we get to persuasion and apologies, I want to check in with our listeners.
Yes.
Which of these formulas, what for toasts or ADD for Q&A, do you think would be most helpful for you?
And have you ever tried using a similar technique to structure your thoughts when you're speaking off the cuff?
Share your experiences with us. We'd love to hear what works for you.
Okay, so we've talked about toasts and Q&A sessions, but there are a couple more formulas we should cover.
Oh yeah, we can't forget about those.
Yeah.
Let's tackle persuasion next because Let's be honest, we're all trying to persuade someone of something at some point.
All the time. And for those situations, Abrahams gives us the acronym WARNA.
Warna. Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, so it's WARNA, and it breaks down persuasion into 5 key steps.
All right, I'm ready. What does W stand for?
W is for why. As in, why are you trying to persuade this person? Like, what's your main point or information you want to convey?
Got it. So it's about being clear on your purpose from the start.
Exactly. Then A is for arguments. So you present your arguments, back them up with evidence or logic, really make your case.
Okay, it's like building a solid foundation for your persuasion.
Yes. And then R is for relevance. So you have to explain why your arguments actually matter to the person you're trying to persuade.
Oh, that's so important. It's not just about stating your case. You have to connect it to their needs or interests.
Right. It's about showing them why they should care.
Makes sense. What's next?
N is for next steps. So outlining the specific action you want them to take.
So you're not just leaving them hanging with all this information. You're giving them a clear path forward.
Exactly. And then finally, A is for ask. Like actually verbalize your request.
Sometimes we assume people know what we want, but it's better to just come out and say it, right?
Absolutely. Like based on everything we've discussed, would you be willing to support this project? Or can you reconsider your position on this issue?
I love how this formula breaks down persuasion into such clear, actionable steps.
It can be applied to so many situations. Pitching an idea to your boss, negotiating anything, even convincing a friend to try a new restaurant.
Okay, that's Warna for persuasion. What about apologies?
All right, apologies. These can be tough to navigate, especially in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to make things worse by saying the wrong thing.
Right. So for apologies, Abrahams has the AAA formula.
AAA. Okay, I'm curious. Tell me more.
So the first A is acknowledge. You acknowledge the offense or mistake, show that you understand what happened, and that you take responsibility for your actions.
So it's about owning up to your part in the situation, even if it was unintentional.
Exactly. Then the second A is appreciate. You show the other person that you understand how your actions impacted them.
So it's going a step further than just saying, I'm sorry. You're acknowledging the consequences of your actions.
Right. And the final A is for amends. What are you going to do to make things right?
So it's not just words, it's about action.
Yes. You're showing the other person that you're committed to fixing the situation.
I love how these formulas make such a big difference in those high-pressure situations.
Right. It's like having a toolkit for effective communication.
Speaking of tools, Abrahams also talks about the power of stories in impromptu speaking.
Stories are so powerful. They capture attention, illustrate your points, create connections.
I've definitely noticed that when someone tells a story, everyone in the room just seems to lean in.
Exactly. It's human nature. We're hardwired to respond to stories.
So if you're heading into a meeting or a presentation, maybe think about a relevant story you can tell.
Yes. Have a few go-to stories in your back pocket, ready to adapt to different situations.
And Abraham suggests practicing thinking on your feet in everyday conversations.
Oh, that's a great tip. It's like turning everyday life into a training ground for impromptu speaking.
Exactly. Challenge yourself to be more present and engaged in your conversations, listen actively, and respond thoughtfully.
The more you practice, the better you'll get at thinking faster and talking smarter in any situation.
Well, we've covered so much ground today,
A lot of great information.
and it's all thanks to Matt Abrahams and his book, Think Faster, Talk Smarter.
Definitely check out the book if you want to dive even deeper into these concepts.
We highly recommend it. It's packed with so much practical advice that can make a real difference in your communication skills.
And remember, it's not about being perfect,
Right. It's about embracing spontaneity
being adaptable,
and, most importantly, being yourself.
and practicing. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
So get out there and start those conversations.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp.
And remember, you've got this.